Hey everyone, so recently I bought this new hot air rework station and Newacalox, I don't even know how to pronounce that. It's basically a clone of a clone of a clone uh, of the 858D. Now, Dave Jones on EEV blog he has done a review on this, many others, and it's a good little hot air station for the price. And when I say the price, it's $30. I picked this thing up for $30 and it works. The problem is apparently these things have some could be major issues if they're not rectified. And one of them is grounding, and the case isn't grounded very well. Often the tips aren't grounded very well or at all. The reed switch is a little flaky in here. Sometimes it needs to be refastened to the outside. They use kind of cheap tape. And some people have even gone ahead and, sorry, I'm not on camera. People have gone ahead and added more magnets to the holder. Because what happens is when you drop this in here, it shuts the heat off, runs the fan for a couple minutes to cool it off, and then the whole thing shuts off. It comes with a cup with 3 tips. You got this one that's on there, and then these 2 here, as well as an extra heating element. So I mean, all in all, for 30 bucks, it's a great deal. But you got to put the work into it and actually make it safe. Now, I don't know if this is a newer revision, because most of the ones that I've seen people talk about, the power cable is actually, it's not removable. It's fastened straight to the unit. The fuse, although this one is on the receptacle here, is a separate piece, and apparently it's really cheap plastic, and as soon as you go to like resolder the tab on the inside, the whole thing falls apart. So this might be an updated version. This even has a plug, it looks like, for a ground strap. Is this... I don't have a banana plug, but it looks about the size for a banana plug. So this could be an updated version, and it may not have any problems. I'm not really sure. I have plugged it in and used it, and it does work. I wouldn't say it's the greatest one out there, but again, it's $30. And is anybody... Oh, and it also has a removable wand, which the other ones that I saw don't have. Or at least the ones that people were complaining about. So what I want to do is take it apart and just see if those issues affect this one. And fix the problems if they are there. So let's take it apart. Well, first let's do a little bit of testing here. I have my meter. And I don't have it set to continuity, I just have it set to ohms, because I want to be able to see what the reading is. And by the way, this is the first recording in the new shop setup, so I don't really know how well this is going to come out. And it'll just get better from here, I promise. Actually, let's put it right to here. What's that saying? 2 ohms? Let's see if we can get a good connection here. If I push really hard on there, I get about a half an ohm, which I get 0.4 off the probe, so it's 0.1 ohms. That's not bad at all. Let me see about the case. So we have this ground here, this ground terminal. Again, showing about the same. Let's see about this. For those that can't see, we got nothing on the holder. We do have through the case, so that might need to just... I don't even know if that's even needed, because if this is grounded and this is plastic, what's the difference? But the case needs to be grounded. So let me just see through one of these screws, even though it's not the best place. Wow, we're still getting... That would work out to be about 0.1 or so. So that's really actually not bad. Most of the ones that I saw people complaining about in forums weren't getting any continuity whatsoever. Or, it was something like 50 ohms. So let's take this unit apart and check, because the other issue, apparently, is that the hot side was actually going to... I'm sorry, the cold side, or the neutral, was going to the fuse first. And, it's not the end of the world, but the problem is, if something happens and the fuse blows, you want to cut the hot side because what will happen is if you cut only the cold side, and let's say something in the wand here shorts out, it can actually short against ground and you'll still have current flowing through the unit. So it's, you know, because you're only cutting out the neutral, and that's not good because, well, it pretty much renders the fuse pointless at that point. Yeah, this is a much different setup to the other ones I saw. Let's take the sides off. I think this whole thing's gonna have to come apart. I don't even know if the... Yeah, that's plastic, and I think the front's plastic too. One thing I see already is this tiny little ground wire, and this one's not too big. Actually, none of these are good. Alright, we'll work on that. I can replace that. That's not a big deal. It'll work, but, you know, in the event of a catastrophe or a catastrophic failure, I mean, you got to figure you're holding 110 volts in your hand with a tip that's running at 400 or 500 degrees Celsius. If something fails, you know, you want this to be grounded, so all the current goes through this and into ground rather than your arm. All right, so let's take that off. Yeah, this is all plastic. I don't know how much I like that, but it is what it is. Let's see if we can transform it. Let's take the top off. They have a ground wire coming out of the third pin straight into the chassis in the bottom here, and then on the other side of this transformer peg, or this transformer leg, they have another wire that comes up and connects to one of the pins on here. Alright. These wires are going to get upgraded, something a little bit thicker. Also, what I'm going to do is kind of grind this down, because I want it to, even though the screw's going through there and the threads might be making contact, or they are making contact, I want as much contact to the plate as possible. So let's look at the board. Actually, first, before I do anything, I want to check the polarity. See, this, now that, because this has a built-in fuse, yeah, I don't like that. Neutral goes straight to the fuse and then out again. Why would the manufacturer, I mean, that's not even, that's whoever made this connect. Alright, so this is hot. And this should be going to here, and it's not, well, because it's going through the transformer winding. This is the neutral. Sorry, I'm not even on camera. Alright, well, that's going to have to get replaced, or a second fuse added. And I don't have a fuse holder. The easiest thing to do would just be get one of those ones that, you know, you screw the back off and pop the fuse out. I think that's what I'm going to wind up doing. If you have one of these, I would just say replace this whole thing. But yeah, look, this wire is ready to break off. So this will have to be replaced. I think what I'll wind up doing is heading down to the hardware store and just getting a fuse holder, drilling a hole, sticking it through there, cutting this wire, running the hot. Wait, cut this wire, run the hot over to the fuse from here back into the transformer. Let's cut this mess. Because I want to see, are you switching the hot side or are you switching the negative or the neutral? I got a feeling it's the complete opposite of what it should be. So this is going to here. This is going here. Ah, it is switching the hot side. So, okay, that's good. You don't want to switch the neutral because you're still going to have... So why they... just, yeah, whatever. So at least that's right. So the power switch is connected to the hot side. We're good there. Now what I want to do is take a look at this board. So let's look at it under the scope here. And that chip there should be the controller from what I understand. And on the ones that I saw in forums, it's always a Samsung. Or supposedly a Samsung, but it doesn't even look like that has any... There's no writing on that whatsoever. That's really shady. And then over here we got just a tip, 122. And that's probably for the motor, or the fan. And a BTA12 and triac, and that's probably for controlling the temperature of the heating element. Now I believe this here is an EEPROM. Not sure what that is. Maybe somebody can tell me. I have to look it up, but not really sure what chip that is. I don't know if that's a op amp, although just trying to look at the way it's connected. I would imagine there would need to be an op amp in here, but we got a 7805 voltage regulator, and that's the ground. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's doing. I'd have to tear this whole, or not tear it, I have to trace it, and I'm not going to do that right now. And let's see, do I even want to do this? Do I even want to know? JWCO. No, I don't want to even know. I've never even heard of that brand. Now, the other ones, too, all were one-sided boards. This is actually a two-sided board, which is interesting, because the manufacturing process actually goes up at that point, or manufacturing price. So, that's interesting, but, alright, let's just do the basics, because I need to use this thing. I got some other stuff I gotta fix. So the first thing I'm going to do is just replace these grounds. Now, the wire I'm going to be using is the wiring I have easily at hand. Like I said, my workshop's kind of torn apart right now. I'm still putting everything back together, but this should actually be sufficient. This is 18 gauge. This, well, the outside of it feels like maybe 20, but it's really flimsy. So I think... and from looking at the wire on the inside of it, which I don't know if you can see on the camera, it's extremely thin. So it is going to be an upgrade. I can't fix this issue right now. Usually, like on the other ones with the fuse connector, you just cut the wire and switch them. Can't do that because it's actually built in here, and these are riveted together. I'm gonna use my own fluid connector. And what I do is it's crystal. So what I do is just push the wrap wire around and outside. And again, just as a little remove. And it'll terrible. Alright, now the one going to the wand, I'm also going to replace. Now the thing I don't like is that nothing here is heat shrinked. Heat shrunken? Heat shrinked? I may actually rectify that now. Let me take this wire out and just see. I mean, there's some, the high voltage stuff is, the low voltage stuff isn't. And the only reason I would want heat shrink on the low voltage stuff would be strain relief. Wow, yeah, that comes off way too easily. I mean, it's not like the wires are going to be moving around on the inside, but, you know, I don't know, whatever. What do I know? Okay, so like I said, I desoldered all the wires, re-tinned them, and resoldered them on, as well as added some heat shrink, just more or less, not so much for, the high voltage wires already had heat shrink, but it was just more about strain relief. So let's get this back together, and then we'll make sure, A, it still works, make sure there's nothing I missed, and we'll focus on the hand unit, just see if there's anything there that needs to be touched up on. Like I said before, I do need to revisit this myself, because where are the screw holes? There they are. Because was this the ones that went in there? Yeah. Because I want to change that fuse out. So yeah, I'm going to have to revisit this at some point, because I want to change that fuse out. With a different fuse holder. So, that's the other thing I want to do. Alright, see how badly I can screw this up. This step might be a little overkill, but can't hurt. And these are actually hidden inside, so you won't see. And I'm just going to get this side of this. Alright, so it's back together. Let me plug it in, just make sure it's there's no loose connections. Should have probably did that before I put it all back together, because you know how that is. Got the cord. You always jinx yourself by doing that, but let's give it a shot. And before I plug it in, so what? Alright, we got 200, we'll set it to. And I got heat. Okay, let's set to 190. Alright, so we'll set it to 200. Put it in its little thingy. Can't show you, but the temperature's going down. Continues to run for a second. I just fire it up just to... I would like to be able to have the fan run a little bit longer than it does. Yeah, because it's still pretty hot. I should probably wait till this thing cools down completely, but I'm not going to. Alright, so it looks like... Let me zoom in. So it looks like they're using just some kind of epoxy or sealer here, high temp. And I hope that's what that is. I hope it's not the plat. No, it's okay. You have a little squirrel cage fan. I don't know the brand. I can't even read it. So it's a no-name, essentially a no-name fan. It's probably going to fail at some point. And the board, I'm not going to pull that out of there. But it looks like, here's the only... Is that hot glue? Please tell me that's not hot glue. Yeah, plug my iron in here. Wow. Okay, so the reed switch is hot glued to the case in a heat gun. Yeah, that's that's incredibly stupid. That is incredibly stupid. Ugh, I got it all over myself. I'm gonna have to think of another way to refasten that, because I mean that's just problem is if this comes out of its place and you set it down, and granted it's real finicky anyway, you got to get it just the right position. The fan, it's not going to shut off, it's just going to keep running. So if you're not paying attention and you walk away, this thing's going to just keep running until it burns up. That's stupid. That is incredibly stupid. Now granted, they could say, well, the heat is up here, so, and there's air blowing through here, so this part of it shouldn't get too hot. The thing is, this handle's going to get hot. And it even says right there, hot. So this is eventually going to fail. This is going to melt. I'm going to have to get some high temp adhesive, take this off, and you know, you should just be able to just pry that glue out of there and get some high temp adhesive and revisit this. I'll do that after I also get the fuse. Whether I film it or not, I don't know. I don't think anybody just really has any interest in that. But if you do buy one of these, that is something that you have to look into. Just look for at maybe a part store, something like a high temp silicone would be just fine. So all in all, it's not too bad. $30, you get a rework station. It's not incredibly accurate. You can calibrate it, but then again, I don't know how accurate it is to this meter with that probe. That hasn't been calibrated exactly either, although I haven't had any problems in the past, and the results that I've used it for have been fairly close. Regardless, you can calibrate it. You pop this little rubber thing off and use a screwdriver. I'm not worried about that, because once I find a temperature that this says that I'm comfortable with, I just stick with it. If I need more, I turn it up, turn it down, whatever. So, if you have any experience with this, leave it in the comments below. Let me know how yours went, and hope to see you next time. All right, bye-bye.